So yeah, we should be straight in here once the screen updates. But we're just seeing a couple of early turns happen here. Once the stream catches up, here we are. Yeah, okay. So just to fill everyone in, Willow passed turn 1. We then see that Pookie came down on Sett's first turn, and then the Master Yi followed up with a Catalyst of Aeon. So we already know it is a ramp version of Yi. We don't know if it's going to be the Aurora Yi or if it's going to be more of just a pure ramp that plays around the Tasty Fey Folk and things such as that. But certainly we do have those ramping elements, so it's not the original Yi we used to see in the first few weeks, which was more around the sort of low-cost units holding. We are playing that more ramp style, and it's a good start. You know, you love to be able to ramp, get to those high rune amounts early to play some big stuff, and let's see what Sett can do here. He's already on 7 runes himself.
Worth noting, Willow's Master Yi chosen champion is face down. Hasn't actually been played yet, so just a little bit of mistake. I assume it's the honed one. Like that's the Master Yi.
Yeah, I would be stunned if this is not the honed one. I think we're pretty certain it will be. I'm sure he's just forgotten to flip it. But so, speaking of the chosen champion, really interesting choice. We've got the Hallowed Tombs battlefield coming out for Willow. So this is when you hold, you can return a chosen champion from your trash to your champion zone. If the champion zone is empty. So really cool. You don't see it very often. We've only ever really seen Yi's run this, because the Yi in itself is a really great card. I think when you have a card like Yi where he comes in ready, he can do a lot of work. He's a 7 might unit that comes in straight away, can swing immediately, often scores you a point. So really, really useful. So I look forward to seeing that. And we will now see the honed has been revealed. So yeah, so there we go. It is indeed Master Yi honed. But yeah, just a cool dynamic. I mean, Master Yi, as we're all probably aware by now, when you defend alone, you get +2 might. So he is all around holding battlefields with 1 unit. So I think having that Hollowed Tomb to be able to bring your Yi back again, because not only if you conquer with him is he a 6 might unit, when defending he's an 8. So really, really difficult. Just like in the first set of many games, big numbers are good. So I think we'll see Yi get progressively weaker potentially as the sets come out. But at least for set 1, he is definitely at the top of the meta, and we've seen that reflected in a lot of the Chinese regionals over the past few weeks as well.
All you sold me. I think I'm going to start playing Master Yi when the cards come out, because I swear I might look like a 6, but once you get to know me, I look like an 8. Now, of course, with how this is being played, Willow has already started ramping already. Tasty Faithful coming out to remove Pookie, so still holding that Master Yi in reserve for now. I was curious whether they'd go for the Master Yi just because, as you mentioned, it's an 8, and with the set buff, he's still really only up to an 8 if you don't give him a second buff to get him up to that 12 mark. But Tasty Faithful kind of does the similar thing and has much better ramping as well. It's a kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with Tasty Faithful. It's hard to take down, so it costs a lot to take it out. But if you don't, it's going to score points. And if you do, it's going to give them more runes and more card draw.
Exactly. I mean, it's exactly what you want a death knell ability in any game to be. It's just, it's a win-win regardless if they kill it or if they let it live. So I think we saw it become so popular towards the end of the Chinese regionals where the deck started to get slightly more ramp style. Obviously, that's what led to the deck being comically named Eggplant Yi, because that is they both have a real similarity with Yi. So
I haven't heard that.
That was the deck sort of been named Eggplant Yi in many situations because of the Tasty Fey Folk. But that's the thing, I think that's why you probably go for it first. I think if they did kill it, if they were to use a set, not only would it take quite an investment to do it, they would also then be in a situation where you're ramping 2 and drawing an extra card. So your next turn you'd be, you'd have 10 runes. So really, really strong position. I think this is a good start from Willow. I think we saw earlier how important it was for the set player to get off to fast starts. I think this has probably not been the quickest of starts in potential, but be interested to see what we do here. Willow already up to 9 runes, so really he's got everything up for grabs. We are seeing 8 and 2, and this is where this is probably one of the strongest cards in the set. I think I'm a massive fan of it. The Dead Bloom Predator coming down, so where he can be played straight to an occupied battlefield, and most importantly, he's got that deflect as well. So
yes,
very, very powerful card. I think it's going to be, it's my guess, probably the most expensive card of the set outside of the alternate arts when it comes out next week. Potentially Dazzling Aurora as well, because they kind of go hand in hand with each other. But yeah, certainly hoping to pull a couple myself, because it is an absolute staple in so many of these orange decks.
Yeah, too big for you to easily take out with units, and with the deflect, too expensive for you to want to take out with spells. So kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Willow, with the fast ramp as you're talking about, Ollie, this is going to be a pretty decent problem for Vanquish. He still has the set, but he doesn't have the tools he needs to buff the set right now. And he's also a little bit behind, I feel like, in terms of econ, with only 6 runes here. If he gets an arena bar out, maybe, but even then he needs to set exhausted to get it to get the buff onto it. So you're kind of hoping for maybe like double Pookie or something like that, get that set up to a 12, and then be able to push in. But even then, you're still worried about Master Yi just coming in because, as you mentioned, Master Yi Honed comes in ready. He can instantly just sweep that set away.
Yeah, exactly. I think we saw it so early earlier when he was playing against the Kaiser, how good Sett can be because of the survivability of the buffs. The problem with this is Master Yi loves it if you try and take him on in combat. You know, between all the buff spells that Green has access to with things like Discipline and On Guard, and then obviously the Master Yi Legend ability giving the +2 as well. If you try and go in sort of hand-to-hand combat with Master Yi, you're probably not in a great position. Whereas with something like Sett, that is your main playstyle. You don't have a lot of that spell removal. You can run things like Challenge potentially, but there's not that consistency in terms of spell removal. You don't have the Falling Stars, the Void Seekers, the Acathian Rains that something like a Kaiser can have. So I think you see that as a real impact in this matchup. And we'll just see Master Yi here taking a bit of a turn off, just playing 2 Clockwork Keepers, recycling both. He's already ramped a lot. I mean, this Sett is going to have to kill this Fey Folk eventually, which means he'll channel 2, so he'll get those 2 runes back. So essentially, he's just kind of drawn 2 cards for net neutral, which is a great situation to be in. But yeah, this is already starting to look pretty scary if you're the Sett player looking at this board right now.
And arguably, Ollie, that time is now. If you leave that Tasty Faithful up for much longer, Willow is going to be at 6 points at that time. And you talked about things like On Guard, like Discipline, these abilities that can really help you push in and take out what Vanquish has ready. Unfortunately for Vanquish as well, trying to clear these battlefields without losing anybody, you can do it. It's a little bit iffy, right? Like, again, can you double buff the Sett? Because if you can't do it, then you're gonna lose something to that Tasty Faithful. It looks like a 6, but the moment you show up, it's gonna be that 8. And with the buff, your Sett only gets up to an 8.
Exactly. I think looking at this Sett, obviously he's got one Sett that is buffed, but the one that isn't buffed is only a 4. Kiana's a 4, so I mean they could go in and trade together, but then you lose to 1 ramp spell. I think with Willow only playing the 2 Clockwork Keepers and not another big body, and then leaving himself 5 runes up, that has got to be a real alarm bells going off now for the Sett player. You've got to assume they've got some answers. There could even be things like a Defy. If you try and play something like a Challenge, they can just stop that in its track. So I think, yeah, Yi potentially has all the answers here to be able to deal with this current situation. But it would just be interesting. Does Sett take the gamble? I think, you know, at some stage you're going to have to. You're already at 5 points. You can't really afford to let the Yi get to 7. So you're going to have to try and take something. But yeah, definitely going to be a big gamble.
And Shadow saw and I point out Call to Glory, especially when we saw Vanquish earlier play. Every single game he played, those 3 games, we saw at least 2 copies of Call to Glory. So statistically speaking, he's due to not have one in his hand by sometime around now. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does have one ready to go. He's got the buff he can spend off the Glory Seeker as well if he needs to. That plus the Sett buff would get him up to 11, which would be enough to take out the Fey Folk at that point. So Vanquish, though, taking his time, really trying to think this one through and how he wants to play this. And there we go. There's the Sett Brawler being buffed up, and he is really investing onto this side. That's 11 might just to go for a Clockwork Keeper.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's a good play. I think just in case that Willow potentially has 2 buff spells in his hand, then he would have traded with the Sett, which would have just been disaster. So I think by putting in that Glory Seeker on top, you just guarantee that it's safe. Interesting, we choose to spend the rune to save the Glory Seeker. Sett will buff himself, which is good. And then we'll see what we do from here. I think, like I say, Call to Glory is always a very important card in this Sett situation. The Sett is currently sitting at 9, so if he potentially has something like a Showstopper to be able to move the Sett, then we could spend the buff first, then move the Sett over to the Hirana Monastery, and that would help take out the Tasty Fey Folk. You see, we're actually just going to ready it instead and retreat. Spend the buff again.
Okay.
To go up to third. Ooh, yeah, he should be exhausted at the moment. Are we going to play another first mate? Oh, the double first mate. And this Sett should now be sitting at 13 because we spent the buff. I think we've got a tiny bit of lag on the TCS there, but he should be at 13 when he swings in here because he's spent 2 buffs on himself, I believe. Plus,
I'm not sure he's getting the second buff from.
Sorry, he should be on 12. 12. So you
Okay,
obviously, yeah, it's technically a net +3 when you spend the buff because you're already on +1 anyway.
Right.
So Yeah, it should be 12. I think 12 against 8, you're feeling better about this. This is certainly a situation where you don't mind this as much. You're not 100% confident, because again, that 4 might break point is 2 buff spells. Because the thing with On Guard, if you look at Ari can often sometimes defend with multiple units. So the On Guard, you don't have to worry, it's only a +1. Whereas when you've got Yi, they'll pretty much always be defending alone. So that On Guard is always a 1 mana 2. So it can be very, very powerful. So we see him going in here with the Kiana and the Sett. I think he's quite happy just to sacrifice the Kiana. He knows the Yi can't get over this. It's too big a number. So it'll be interesting to see if Willow potentially spends both buffs just to trade with the Sett, or allows the Fey Folk to die, and he will. So still a good situation. He ramps 2 runes and draws a card, so he's still going to have lots of resources to work with next turn. But at least Sett has now stabilized a bit and got some strength on the board.
Yeah, and most critically, Vanquish holds Willow at the 5 points. We're not going to see the 6 point start. The start of Willow's next turn, where that's when it's really, really risky, right? With the card draw as well from Fey Folk, with what we saw, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in Willow's hands, plus whatever he's going to draw at the start of his turn. So yeah, a really rough position. Remember, Dead Bloom Predator is still on the board as well. It's back in base, not on the battlefields, but that is still 8 might that can move up, can be an absolute menace. And the Hallowed Tomb is actually empty right now, so Willow just capture that for free, go up to the 6 points, 1 more turn. Whereas for Vanquish, it's going to be at least 2 before he gets, or it'll be at least 1 before he gets to the 6 point, and 2 before he can make 8.
Yeah, no, very interesting. I'm curious. I was curious there because we did another Fey Folk, but we could have put the Sett in the Hallowed Tomb, and then he would have got a buff. And then I think the reason that's important is if you wanted to play Call to Glory, you don't have 3 runes. So you'd have to spend a buff to do it. And if you had that extra buff, if they go into one battlefield, you can spend the Call to Glory on the other battlefield to strengthen it. So interesting decision there. I think it would be nice to have that extra point, but he still got to the 4 point break point anyway. Players love to go up in evens, like you touched on earlier in the stream, that you want to go 2, 4, 6, 8 and win the game. But yeah, interesting decision to keep that Sett in base. I guess obviously trying to have answers for next turn, because you know this Yi is going to move in and have some powerful battlefields here. With this Dead Bloom, he's still got access to the Yi that obviously enters ready. So certainly some interesting things.
Okay, so Dead Bloom being moved up to the Hallowed Tomb right now. Willow wanting to kind of put Vanquish over the coals here. He's got to be careful. He's got to clear both. And in order to do that, you're sacrificing a lot of units or you're using buffs. So that is a functional 8 might Fey Folk and a 10 might Dead Bloom Predator if you're attacking with straight up units.
Yeah, exactly. This is a very scary set of boards. You have to go in and take both now that Willow is up to 7, so it's going to be tough to try and get into both of these battlefields. Still got 3 runes available, so you could be looking at those buff spells that we mentioned. Something we haven't really touched on is Defy, which is an absolutely pivotal card. So we know from this Vanquish list that we were watching earlier that he does run things like Showstopper, things like Hidden Blade. Those are both prime Defy targets. Call to Glory as well falls into that category. So if he walks into a Defy, and you've got to assume there's a good chance Willow has it. I mean, he's sat with 7 cards in hand at the moment, so definitely likely. I mean, you look at 7 cards, you think that probably all the answers are in there. So very, very scary position. I think this is one of the situations where you just have to say, do you know what? If you have it, you have it. But I'm gonna have to take the risk at this stage.
Exactly. You're screwed if you don't, so you might as well try your luck. Worth noting as well, one thing I really liked about what Willow did there is he's not giving any free battlefields for Vanquish to be able to pick up. So the Setts moving up, they're currently not buffed. They can't go up to that 8 might because he did spend it last turn and wasn't able to quite find what he was looking for, just to kind of get it back safely after it got taken out by the Fey Folk. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one for Vanquish unless he's got the Showstopper. And even with the Showstopper, you can't spend the buff immediately. So yeah, he's throwing a lot up there to try and guarantee that one of the Setts survive. Actually, no, they don't even have that, because 8 might just takes out the 2 Setts. Even if first mate lives, big whoop. You kind of don't care if you're Willow, right? It's the Setts which are the threat.
Yeah, so we see the On Guard come down here, and we see the double On Guard. I'm curious, I have a suspicion. So obviously, I mean, I think that's actually just game because he wins this fight. But I think if he had won that, I was wondering if he was trying to bait out the runes to maybe Hidden Blade the Dead Bloom potentially and do something like that. But we will just see the concede. Once the Fey Folk wins that battlefield, there's no way to take out both.
It has been confirmed that can't is bigger than can. So you cannot move things out of Valmor back to base, even if the ability technically says you can move out. It's just not allowed.
Yeah, exactly. I think Varmor's really cool. I do run this in my Misfortune Aurora deck. I think it's really good. I think the reason I love that so much is that Misfortune can give units ganking, so they can still escape. They can just go up and up the other battlefield and then back to base, which is always a good way of doing it. But we see a nice quick start here. So we see a Pit Rookie come down turn 1. Okay. We then see the Fiora. So the first time we've seen in all of Vanquish's games this Fiora come down. Yi starting off with just the Zonyas, so just keeping something safe whenever he does choose to play his first unit. I think this is very good in this set. You don't have, I was going to say you don't have that many small units, but you do have a Pit Rookie, so you've still got some small units. But yeah, this Fiora, I think it's a really cool card. I think when she is mighty, she is incredibly strong. I think Sett is currently the only deck really that can make her work, because it's the only deck that does have a lot of buff mechanics. But you see, he's in a good spot here. We've got the Windswept Hillock. Well, actually, this is very clever. We'll use the Windswept Hillock to gank across. We should be on 3, I believe, because he held the Hillock. There we go. So we go up to 3. We've now scored both battlefields each turn. We can keep Fiora safe in base. And we're choosing to hide a card at Varmor's Lair, which is interesting. I think very cool tech. Obviously, you can't move from the Varmor's Lair, so you're now going to stay there for the most part. So interesting, just happy to have that Pit Rookie there with the hidden card, which we can sort of speculate is most likely the Hidden Blade that we saw in the rounds earlier tonight.
Yeah, and the funny thing too is whether or not this will be a good investment, trying to protect the Balmos there, but you can't move out, or whether it'll be a sunk cost, because there are ways still to move things out of Balmo, and Charm comes to mind for Master Yi specifically. Oh, we are just using Master Yi honed right in there. Okay, and what's most likely a Hidden Blade? Is there a Defy? There's no energy runes.
We have the Zonyas.
Oh, okay. So
I assume the Zonyas would override the Varmors because it says recall it exhausted instead. This essentially, it says in brackets this isn't a move. So essentially Zonyas would have overridden it anyway. So Vanquish actually decided just to take the 2 cards rather than just using the Zonyas, which I think is a very reasonable play. I think it makes a lot of sense. We see the Kinku Monk come down, sporting 2 buffs. So we've then got Fiora, and now she is classed as mighty. So she gains deflect, ganking, and shield. So a very, very powerful card. We can see here, very good, using the Pit Rookie to trigger the Zonya's effect. I believe Sett has spent his buff.
Yeah, they're skipping steps again.
Yeah, we're skipping steps. So what would happen is Sett spent his buff, went to 8, which would match the Master Yi, but then the Kinku Monk gave him an extra buff, taking him to 9, which then put him over the top. Or he spent the buff again, and Conquering gave him another buff. They're skipping a few steps, but we can sort of draw some conclusions from these situations. So we then see the Fey Folk come in. That will instantly be Call to Glory. Interesting to see which buff we decide to spend here. I would assume we're going to spend a Fiora's buff. Always a tricky one, because then Fiora loses the keywords technically. Well, not at the moment, but next turn. So always a bit of a tricky interaction, but we'll nullify the Fey Folk. We get the Death Knell. But this is looking much better. I think this is what I mean. I mean, we're already on 7 points for the set, so this could be over before it even starts. This has just been an absolute masterclass. We've gone to the races very early on here. So definitely a scary situation for the Master Yi player.
And it's not even that there's small units being left up by Vanquish right now. So for Willow to take this, even if he has Dead Bloom Predator, in hand, to be able to play out, can you clear both battlefields in time? Unlikely with the 7 energy that Vanquish still has to try and play units, get himself set up. And if he's not playing units, well, then that's even scarier, because we know he's got Hidden Blades, he's got Calls to Glory, he's ready to go. Those seem to be the reactions that we've seen come through. And yeah, Willow's going to have to start using Defies. And if you're using Defies between that and a Dead Bloom, you're kind of out of options. I don't know if we can clear both battlefields.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not exactly sure what the answer could be here. I think you're going to have 11 runes next turn, potentially. Well, you're going to have 11 runes next turn. So there is a lot to work with there. You can do something like a Dead Bloom. You've got 1 buff spell and potentially a Defy. So you could maybe, I think you just essentially have to pray the Pit Rookie can take out the Fiora and then Dead Bloom the Sett. But there's still a lot that Sett can do to counteract that. If he moves in with the Kinku Monk into Windswept Hillock, that makes it very, very scary. He's still got the full 7 runes up. He hasn't played a card this turn, so he's obviously just very much contemplating this decision. This is going to be the sort of game-defining turn. He's in a very good spot to try and take us to a game 3. The Sett can't really do a lot. He's stuck in the lair, so he is just he is going to be there, I think, just relaxing. But it'll certainly be interesting to see what we can do from here. So we actually end up recalling the Fiora. I think that's not a bad play. I think you want to build up for a big attack next turn. I think he's probably quite sad he can't actually recall this Sett. I'm sure he'd quite like to be able to do that. But we're then going to see another Sett come down, so it doesn't even matter anyway. He's got enough for the next turn. So I think he's probably just saying, he's probably saying to Willow that, look, I've got this for next turn. If you can deal with it, great. But good luck building up a strong enough defense that this won't be enough to win the game. Which I think is probably looking like it definitely could be.
My only concern is this feels a little bit like the unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, right? Because as Sett, you want to be buffing up and you're the unstoppable force. On the attack, you're really, really good, but your ability can't be activated on your enemy's turn. So, defensively, it's a little bit weak, whereas Mastery is the opposite, where he's great at defending, not so good at attacking, right? So he wants to get the units in there. The Sett kind of being pushed out right now. Tasty Fate Folk in there. Okay, you've got the Sett unbuffed in your base. Now, with only, 3 runes left for Willow?
Yeah.
Okay, Willow just has to make sure that Vanquish can't take both battlefields. So if he can stalk up a little bit, but then he's already moved Pookie up there. Yeah, that's looking kind of rough.
Ooh, nice. Okay. So that's a good use of Charm there. I think Charm is another one where people can't really believe that it exists and it's not sort of like a signature spell. It is such a versatile spell. You can use it to push enemies back and win the game. You can use it to bring enemies in. And essentially, it's just a 1-mana kill spell. Because especially when you charm a unit to your location, they become the attacker. So in Master Yi specifically, it's incredible because you bring in a unit where you then get +2 might and you can kill it. So really cool use of that there. And it does make a big difference because that was the buff Sett as well. So he waited for Vanquish to play his legend ability and save one Sett to make sure that he wouldn't be able to save the second Sett and then use the charm. Very good sequencing there as well, which does make it a very big ask here because this pit rookie, even though it's a 2, it actually goes up to a 4. And as you can see, Vanquish is currently sitting with 3 4-might units, so you currently trade with all of them, which is very impressive. And then not to mention you have still got those 2 runes up, which can easily be some sort of buff spell. Oh, a big Kinku Monk here, so he plays it. You can see we're skipping a couple of steps here again, but he buffs the Fiora. He immediately spends the buff from Sett, so Sett is already up to 8. We'll then go in 5 against the Pit Rookie, so we have to try and see if we can do anything to save this. If not, I think the Fey Folk's in pretty bad shape, so I think you'd rather try and see if you can save the Rookie. Because if you save the Rookie, there's no way for the Sett to be able to deal with both battlefields. If you can find a buff spell here or something in your hand to try and defend. We see here that the Fiora does have Mighty, so it's a 5. It's got Deflect as well, but that's not huge. There's not a lot of targeted spells that this Sett is going to have. It's more about buff spells from the green-orange combo. We are seeing tapping 1 for the On Guard, so that will then take the Rookie to 6. And we'll see a response. Is this going to be a... Ooh, the Shen comes down! The ninja using the Stand United from League of Legends to come in and save the day. That is exactly what you need. He's gone back again.
I think that's probably a misclick.
We may have recycled the wrong type of rune. Oh,
no, that's right. Those are order runes.
That would have swung the fight in his favor. I'm surprised if we aren't going to do that.
And with the tank, Fiora would live as well, so you get the deflect.
Okay, we're actually just taking that whole move back. We're pulling it back. Interesting. I'm wondering what the comms were regarding that move.
Wait, no. They tapped the Sett legend, so that means they let the Fiora die.
Yes, I'm just curious why you wouldn't summon the Shen if there's something I've missed, because that would. He comes in at reaction speed and he's got 3 might, so he would be enough to swing the fight because it was 6 against 5 at the time. So. A little bit of a curious one. We are now seeing the second On Guard.
We have the explanation in chat from VANQUISH. Shen couldn't be played to the battlefield because he didn't control it. It was being contested, but he didn't control it.
Thank
you very much.
Very
VANQUISH.
Very good. Thanks for that, VANQUISH. That's very, very helpful. But yeah, this is now getting a little bit scary. So the Pit Rookie went up to 8 with the double On Guard and actually ended up trading with the Sett. So now we're just left with the Kinku Monk. We've got no way to get into Fey Folk. And with 2 Sett Brawlers gone, that's going to make it really, really difficult to have those big units. Because we were talking earlier how important having those really big bodies are. And we simply don't have that. The advantage for Vanquish is we do have a lot of cards in hand. So we've currently got 6 cards in hand. We've still got 3 runes up. We're actually just going to play a Catalyst, and because because we can't ramp 2, we can only ramp 1. You do get to draw a card. Always a good big piece of tech there. If you're on 11 runes, you can play a Catalyst to draw a card. Still gives us 7 runes available, so not enough for a Dead Bloom in this scenario, but we do need to find something to try and get onto this battlefield, and I think we may not have it, because everything accelerated would be lower, unless we're going to play the Ari, the Poro, and then that's a concession. So we will indeed, that will be enough. So
where you get the extra sort of rune to accelerate your scaling. Instead, it's the Sigil of the Storm. So instead of speeding it up, Willow's trying to slow it down, where if you conquer that particular battlefield, you got to recycle one of your runes. And then, of course, Grove of the God Willow that we knew Vanquish was running prior had seen it. That one might come back to bite Vanquish, because that's about holding, and Master Yi is about holding.
Yes, exactly. Now, I think it's interesting. I think, like you say, the Sigil of the Storm is certainly an interesting one. We did see it last week in a Aurora Volibear deck, and actually it was incredibly impactful, because your opponent, you really don't want to be taking out. I mean, we've seen in these games from now, we've seen quite a bit of this set now, how low on runes he can run. So if you're spending runes just to conquer battlefields, that will put you even further behind. So while the Yi is quite happy just to leave it free until he's ready, I mean, once you get to a certain break point, you're quite happy to just deal with the Sigil. It's mainly the early game where the Sigil is hugely impactful. I think going from 9 to 8 runes, you don't feel it as much, but going from 4 to 3 or 5 to 4, that's a much bigger impact on the early game. So that's why I think a lot of these ramp decks are incorporating Sigil of the Storm, not necessarily because they like it, but because their opponents are going to hate it. So I think it's one of those sort of double-edged swords. But we see here, this is a great start already for Willow. We've got the Clockwork Keeper into Grove of the God Willow. We have the buff on it, and we're actually going to draw out the Hidden Blade just to deal with the Clockwork Keeper. That is a big commitment for such a small card, and it is going to be defied as well. First time we've seen it in the series, and it could be one of the biggest moments as well, because that is now going to keep that little Clockwork Keeper. Because this is the thing with Master Yi, trying to beat him by combat is nearly impossible, because this Keeper is a 5 when defending. So there is just nothing the set can do to match this. And then you touched on this already, the issue with this is he's going to start drawing cards now as well. So not only can you not deal with this, it's your battlefield he's using against you to now just continually draw cards. So we see he draws the card there, then draws for turn, so his hand's already back up to 5. So this is a really scary spot early for Vanquish. I think the thing with Defy is such a powerful card. You not only do you lose the Hidden Blade, you also recycled a rune for the Hidden Blade, because obviously you pay the cost of the card first. So yeah, very, very scary position here now for our Sett player.
And potentially this is the dream start as well, right? For a Master Yi player. You get the Clockwork Keeper, you get the draw, you get the buff from Pookie onto it as well, and get onto any sort of battlefield. And suddenly, early game, 5 might is ridiculous. Vanquish is going to have to trade both a Glory Seeker and as well as Pookie, potentially, if he doesn't use, Call to Glory or something like that. But if you do, again, it's how many cards you're trading to make this work. And oh my goodness! No shot the charm coming through, and Lads is pulling up the Glory Seeker. Vanquish can't kick you out.
All the cards we were just talking about coming into a huge effect already. This could be a disaster for the Sett player potentially. All the cards.
Okay. Trade even?
That makes them trade, and then we'll see a discipline to keep it alive. As I said, it doesn't take it to 6, it takes it to 5. But it's great to see this. I personally really enjoy it when instead of seeing these big units, you just see these little units scrapping to the death. We've seen 4 spells now invested across this game, just between a Clockwork Keeper and a Glory Seeker. It's great to watch. So it's some really interesting stuff. But all in all, the bottom line is this is a really dangerous spot here for the Sett player. We see the Clockwork Keeper, another Clockwork Keeper comes down, and we do actually just recycle the rune to draw the card. So we're not that worried about ramping. We can see the Sett only has 3 cards in hand. And then interesting, like I just mentioned, the Pit Rookie that is ready doesn't even go into Sigil.
No.
Doesn't need it, doesn't want to give up the rune. Quite happy just to leave it free.
And for Willow, as you rightly pointed out, Sigil of the Storm is about slowing down the game. It's not that it helps me, it's that it messes with you. And so Willow is more than happy to skill up right now. Doesn't want to lose any more econ, already using it to keep drawing those cards. I think he's might be hunting a little bit for that Catalyst of Aeons. If he gets that card, it speeds up his curve right back up there once again. His scaling will be fine. Now, Sett being played, and I suspect this is why we saw Willow take out the Clockwork Keeper with the buff, because you don't need it. you already know that, hey, you've only got Pookie. That's all you've got. And Vanquish has to kind of bite the bullet here, moving Pookie up the Sigil of the Storm, having to recycle runes, falling behind once again, and now hiding a card to really protect it. If not, we could potentially just see the Clockwork Keeper just walk up there, take it. If Willow wants, he can still trade Pookie for Pookie, and then have the Clockwork Keeper walk up after that field has been cleared and the hidden card has been used.
Yeah, that doesn't feel great if you're the Sett player. Interesting, we just move in with both here, so he can Hidden Blade something. I mean, to be fair, this actually works out okay. He can Hidden Blade the Clockwork Keeper and then trade the Pookies into each other. He's actually going to choose to Hidden Blade himself, which I think makes sense. You've only got 2 cards in hand. You need some card draw. You also kind of want to make the Recycler rune. You don't love it. You see he's going to tap the rune first, so it's technically a floating rune, and then play the Zhonya's, which makes sense, but yikes, this is looking pretty scary pretty early. I mean, we've already drawn 2 cards off of the Grave of the God Willow. I assume we're going to see the Sett go in there, because if he does go in 8 against 2, or which would be 4 when defending, we should have enough there. There's only 3 runes up, so we've seen a Discipline be played, we've seen a Defy be played as well. So I think you can probably be confident to hopefully get on the God Willow. The clever tech with actually Hidden Blading your own unit is that you have now stuck 2 units of Yeez on the battlefield, so he is not capitalizing from his legend ability. So potentially a turn where you could make a move. There is also the Zhonya's up, so if you can just kill something cheaply with the Zhonya's, that's always a pretty good situation to be in. And then interesting, we see the Leona come down.
Okay, so Leona, when she attacks, she gets to stun a unit, and when she's defending, she gets +1. So kind of good on both offense and defense. She is coming in exhausted though, so that will be for next turn. Looks like Vanquish moving up the Sett. I don't know if he actually buffed the Sett up to 8, because they do like to skip steps here. So it's showing us 5. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Going to make sure you secure the Grove of the God Willow. And this was my big sort of question earlier when I saw the Hidden Blade go down on his own Pookie, was whether he was trying to bait 2 units up there, and then you buff up the Sett, and you can use the Sett to take out both units simultaneously while getting the 2 draw anyways. But it looks like Vanquish might not want to recycle any more runes. He has been playing on low econ for most of this game so far. To be fair, both of them have.
Yeah, I think the low econ is definitely. Or are we going to see Discipline into an on guard potentially? That could be very bad for the Sett player here, because he's not. This Sett. Yeah. We've got a double draw coming through by mistake. This Sett is currently not. We're just spinning cards now. Not exactly sure what's going on here. I think Willow maybe just having a couple tech issues, unfortunately. We can see there's some high ping, but if there is a second card that can deal with this, if we do see an so Discipline just lets it. And the Zhonya's will trigger, so the clock will go back. Interesting. I feel like maybe he was trying to pray for the miracle top deck of the on guard, because if he does that, then the Sett dies and the game is, I think, basically over, really, for all intents and purposes. We're going to see another hidden card here, but yeah, Vanquish has played. It felt like he's played the entire day on very low rune counts, and it's been very concerning to watch. I think it's an interesting situation. Interestingly, we pull back fully, and we're just going to develop 2 Stalwart Porrows and pass back. I mean, that's not a bad position to be in. The Sett's only on 2 points. I think with the Leona, it's not necessarily worth trying to defend. I was going to just talk about the Leona for a second. I think this is a really cool tech card. It's definitely got side. I'm sure it's got sideboarded in. Is part of the answer, because being able to stun these big units, it just means that if you're attacking into something like a Faith Folk, like a Dead Bloom Predator, they don't get the chance to attack back, which is always really nice. So instead of trading, you will just take out their unit. If you draw, you push them, but you both get pushed back. So it's an interesting one. Stun is definitely one of the sort of niche mechanics. Apart from Leona, there isn't a lot of stuns in the game. I know a lot of people really like the idea of Leona, have tried to make it work. So sadly, not a lot of success at the moment, but definitely interested to see how impactful this card will become if it does try and attack into something bigger in a few turns.
Okay, for now though, Vanquish with Kiana coming out as well. Currently not accelerated, just going to leave it exhausted right now. And just going to hand the turn over. So again, not wanting to conquer the Sigil of the Storm for Vanquish. I respect kind of what's going on here. And the Sett deck he's running is interesting, because sometimes Sett decks will see them run like 1 or 2 really big units that you kind of got to ramp up to and then keep them alive. But that's not how Vanquish is playing. He's playing fairly low to the ground. It's allowing him to get a lot of these units out for cheap, but he's kind of caught in that do I don't I situation where he's slowing down so that he can continue building up the deck. One of the disadvantages of Master Yi is that you have to defend alone. If there's any other unit, you won't get the +2. So yeah, for Vanquish, if he gets a big enough board up there, he can just kind of brute force his way in. And we already talked about how difficult it is for Master Yi to kick multiple or strong units, deal with a lot of might that's piled up to an area, and he doesn't have board wipe.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that was potentially a little misplay not moving the Leona into Sigil. I know you don't want to get rid of the rune, but the problem is you're now moving both units in just to deal with the pit rookie. But you can see playing the Fate Folk not accelerated. I think I really like that play. You just made it very clear that you're setting up for a big finish next turn. You've got 2 Clockwork Keepers, 2 Poros, with the Fate Folk. You could potentially bring the Yi in as well. So you've got a lot ready to go because you've hit that 6-point break threshold. So if you can conquer both, you will win the game. So I think that's a really good way of doing it. And certainly, I think that we're coming to the climax of this series now. Definitely going to all come down to these next couple of turns to see who can get that breakpoint and make it into top cut and keep their dreams alive for tonight. So it's still all to play for here.
And we're looking at how Willow's going to close this one out. If you're looking for attacking in, I go back to White Flame Protector you were talking about. I don't know if it is in Willow's Master Yi deck, but I know you're talking about how you can +8 and kind of attack in. It can raise even Pookie up to a 10. We couldn't see that the past couple of games because Willow hasn't been able to build up any sort of board. Whereas this game, he has 5 smaller units that all came out really, really fast, allowed him to actually play an early game of some sort. And if it does come down to that, he should have, 9 runes on his next turn for Willow. If he gets the White Flame Protector, buffs up on these small units, it might just be enough for him to be able to conquer that way. Besides that, it's just kind of numbers, just overwhelming with bodies. But again, we talked about the accelerate and the lack thereof. The other thing you could do is maybe a Dead Boom Predator, get that out there, and then try and clear off, one of those 2 boards, probably the Sett side of things.
Yeah, you see here the Kinku Monk coming down. It's going to buff the Kiana and the Leona. And he will play it straight to the Grove of God Willow because this is it. We are just the battlefield lines are being drawn here. Yep. We are seeing what we can do with this. I think some really interesting stuff. I think this is actually one of the interesting things where you see the real difference between this ramp / eggplant Yi, as I'll call it, versus an Aurora Yi. Because in Aurora Yi, you can't play anything, any small units like the Pit Rookies, the Clockwork Keepers, the Stalwart Poros, because if you get that off your top deck from the Aurora, that's a disaster. So, in those versions, it has to be pure big units, nothing small. Whereas actually, we've seen the real benefit of having these small bodies to be able to move around early game. If you get onto a battlefield, it's still a big number for your opponent to deal with. We saw how difficult it was just to get rid of that Clockwork Keeper, which is ironically still alive, right at the beginning of the game. So I think it's really interesting to see the difference. This has been highlighted really nicely in this game, and why this ramp Yi is very popular. I think it's not necessarily as good into directly Aurora, but it's a lot better into decks that want to play a bit faster because you have so much more versatility in the early game.
Well, Ollie, we might see the disadvantages as well, because the advantage of Aurora is that you get lots of big units when you hit it, and that often adds up to a lot of might really quickly, whereas Willow now, he's got a lot of small little units here and there, but does he have enough might to break through? Because on that top side, on the Grove, you've got, 3 on the Glory Seeker, 4 on Kinko, that's 7, 12, once you get the Sett in there, plus a potential Hidden Blade. Again,
yes, I think you've got to be looking at the Sigil here as a potential way in. You've got the 2 5s plus the shield +1 from Leona. The only other thing you have to worry about is a card we have been talking about constantly in this matchup is the Call to Glories. I don't think we may have seen 1 this game so far, but you've also got 4 buffs on the board. So I think that's the key. You've got no runes, but you've got plenty of buffs you can spend. You can spend the bluff. I think the key one will be the one on the Glory Seeker. Is probably the least valuable. So they're quite happy to spend that and let that go. I think Willow here is probably just sat doing some maths, trying to figure out exactly the best way to do this. These are some really important decisions on how you manage these attacks and the exact ordering you do it in. We know they definitely have access to the Yi if they wanted to do that for the 6 might. We don't know if they've got anything bigger in their hand, like a Dead Bloom, like a White Flame Protector that you talked about just a second ago. Be interested if they've got any other buff spells. I think this could be a chance where we actually see Willow use that Discipline a couple of turns ago, which it still lost the combat. That Discipline could be a huge impact on this turn here potentially, depending on how this goes. But we're going to start with the Pit Rookie and the Clockwork Keeper going in. I imagine this is to try and trade with the Kinku Monk potentially, or bait out that Hidden Blade.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to Hidden Blade this, right? Like, there's so much might already calculated up there that those two, the Stalwart Poro and Clockwork Keeper alone, aren't enough to kind of do anything. And they had a total of 15 might, I believe, Willow right now to attack. So if he doesn't summon any more units, he can't necessarily win on this turn. It's worth noting as well, Vanquish sitting on 5, Willow at 6. So it's not a GG situation. It's not like Willow loses if he can't kick out Vanquish. It's more just that Willow's looking for the win angle right now, and maybe this is just set up for it. Just slowly whittling down whatever units are available for a potential big play on the next turn instead.
Exactly. I think Grove of the Gold Willows is a very intimidating place to try and go into at this point with the Hidden Blade, because if you do have something like a White Flame Protector, that doesn't really help you because they can just Hidden Blade you or whatever unit you decide to White Flame Protector. I think one of the big things would be to White Flame and then go into Sigil. I think that would be a very good move because if you, for example, if you use that on the Fey Folk, they go to 14 and then you can move in with the Keeper, for example, and even if they do have a Call to Glory, the odds of doing that. But interestingly, now moving in with just the Fey Folk, is this another attempt to try and get rid of that Hidden Blade? I think it might be.
It could also just be really good setup. You channel 2 Runes Exhausted, you draw a card as well. And right now, you've got to keep in mind, Willow hasn't played anything this turn. So
exactly,
all 9 runes are up and ready to go. Depending on how this plays out, maybe you draw the card you're looking for to set this up. Hidden Blade comes down, so that could be draw 3 cards and channel 2 Runes Exhausted.
Exactly. I think the interesting fact here will be we've now made way if we do have that White Flame. I think this would be the key because it's now just 8 might. With a Call to Glory, that would be technically a +2, so that would go to 10. So if we have White Flame, we are, as you can see, we're highlighting a lot of runes by the looks of it. But if we were to use White Flame on the Clockwork Keeper, we would conquer even over a Call to Glory. We wouldn't necessarily do it. Oh, sorry. Actually, you could spend a buff from the other battlefield, so you technically would tie, which would still be pretty good for the
Sure, yeah.
for Willow here. But yeah, certainly some interesting maths to do. We can see we've tapped a lot. We're recycling 1 green, 2 green, and there he is. We were just talking about him, and here he has arrived. So here we now go up to 11. So we can either go, it'd be 11 into 11 on the Sigil, or it'd be 11 into 8 on the Godwillow. And interesting, we move in solo on to the Godwillow. So the Leona goes up to 6. I don't know if we factored that in necessarily. And we have an On Guard to go up to 13. So I think this is where, if we see a Call to Glory come down right now, that could be a big swing, because that would swing the fight. Because we could spend the buff from the Glory Seeker up on the Godwillow. It doesn't have to be on the unit you're buffing.
Yeah, and if anything, I'm actually a little bit surprised that that's where Willow kind of went for. The Grove felt like the safer call, and that even if there was the Call to Glory, at worst you trade even, as you pointed out. And you could always move the Stalwart Poro up there, score the point, go up to 7, and look to hold on that top side of the map. Instead, now going for this bot side, if it backfires, this could put Willow in a really tough position. Yes, you still have White Flame Protector for your next turn, and again, you get at least 1 more turn. Vanquish cannot win on his next turn.
Yes, I think that's the security blanket that Willow's got here, is that even if the Sett goes to 7, it's not the end of the world. But interesting, he's recycled his tap Sett, so I'm guessing that means we don't have a Call to Glory in hand. That's some good information to give Willow. The question now is, what do you save? In my opinion, I would lean towards thinking you save the Leona.
Yeah.
We're now hovering over our hand, so we could be... Yeah, I think with this situation, we talked about Leona's strength in this matchup. It was a card they've sideboarded in, so I would assume they choose to save the Leona here, and that is what is going to happen. So the Leona will go, Willow will go up to 7, and then the Kiana will be removed.
Okay,
and there we go. So, yeah.
Worth noting as well is the fact that Sett does live, right? If you had sent that 13 might Clockwork Keeper up towards the Grove, you kill the Sett. Now, Sett is available, can be pulled back and used to try and score that last point. Clockwork Keeper with the buff. We've seen this one. This one's been the one since the beginning of the game, actually. This is the first one that got buffed by Pookie on turn 2.
Yes, it is put in a very, very good shift here. I think this may be the longest any Clockwork Keeper has ever survived in a game of Riftbound. But I think you're right. I think the key is you don't really want to send the Sett back to base, because then he can pull off some buff shenanigans, take it to a 12, 13 might unit. Actually, having it trapped on the Godwillow is not the worst place for it to be. It can't gank across, so I think you're okay there. If the owner goes back in, it would currently be a 4 against a 5 anyway, so they'll need something to buff this Leona with just to get onto the Sigil. And then even if you do that next turn, you've still got the White Flame Protector, you've still got the Stalk Pro, there's still Master Yi as well, which we haven't really talked about yet, waiting to go. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens here with if he just brings that Yi in and can use a combo play. He's going to have 10 runes, which is quite a lot to work with. Obviously you're looking at 7 for Yi, 8 for Deadbloom that we've talked about before, and 8 for another White Flame. He simply have another one. But we're now going to go in. This makes a lot of sense. Go in 7 against it becomes 5, but he gets stunned anyway, so he doesn't even get the opportunity to trade, unfortunately. So he just dies. He'll then go to 7 himself, and then this will be the final turn. We will have to wait and see what's going to happen. They've just got the decision of where we put the Glory Seeker. We'll choose to put it in Sigil, which can go down here. The one thing that's got to feel good if you're Willow is it's very unlikely that the Sett has a call to glory because he would have used it last turn. He's only drawn 1 card since. So you've got to probably work on the assumption that he probably doesn't have it because he definitely would have used it last turn to win that combat against the Clockwork Keeper. So I think that's some very useful hand information. I'm sure Willow has picked up on that, being a very experienced player that he is. So it'll be interesting to see what we've got to come down here. This is the big moment. One player goes home, one player goes through. Let's see what they've got to work with.
I want so badly for Vanquish to be doing mind games and knowing that he had the first mate, so he could take it back, holding it for the critical last turn. You know, because this is 7 point, right?
Yeah, this is it. This is either Willow scores both or Vanquish is going to hold one of them, and that will just be game. So we've currently got 8 might on Grove of the God Willow, and we've got 10, which will go to 11 because of Leona, on Sigil. So we've currently got a bit of a mountain to climb to start with. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what we have. We do have access to the Yi Honed, which would only be 6, so not hugely impactful. We're going to start with the White Flame Protector, 8 into 8. Very interesting.
To clear it on that top side right now. You pointed out earlier, and I do want to bring up the math as well, that Master Yi is still available. The Honed, so basically you can kind of Alpha Strike your way onto the field and then try and hit, but he's only got 6 damage or 6 might. So that's not quite enough. And he costs 7. So there's, what's that, 10 runes right now? So he's got only 3 more extra. Pookie, they're buffing the Stalwart Poro up to a 3. I'm going to be honest, Ollie, that is a lot less impressive than... there we go. I was going to say White Flame's 8 was a lot more impressive.
He has done the math, though. It's quite clever because this battlefield was originally going to be 10. It is now gone up to 11. So he's just going to go in and trade again. So that's big. He managed to get both. I don't think this Sett deck plays a lot of Accelerate. Did we see much Accelerate earlier? We did see the Master, the Lee Sin, or the Misfortune. So one of those would be game. He's only got 5 runes, so he can't use either of them anyway. So
well, he could get a first mate out potentially, but that wouldn't let him win. It would just let him score.
Yeah, because he can't even double first mate, can he? This is
no.
Okay, Showstopper could be the key here. If we see, you can draw a card here from not being able to use it. If you don't win on, if you conquer a battlefield on 7 points, you get draw a card. Showstopper would allow him to move to a battlefield, which he'd then be able to conquer, and that would be enough for game, I believe. If I'm correct in this.
Showstopper only works on base, so you need the first mate first to either bring the Sett
it has
back
to be the base to begin with, so you can't gank across.
Yeah, okay. Or if you got another unit. Does he have a Pookie? Does he have Cytherea? We've not seen Cytherea this game, have we? So
Cytherea, Glory Seeker, Pit Rookie, even Kinky Monk, anything basically 4 or less to then play the 1 might Showstopper and move in. This could not be any closer because if he doesn't win this turn, I think between the White Flame Protector, the Master Yi Chosen Champion, you're gonna have enough. I think it's unlikely he's gonna be able to survive another turn. We see we're tapping 5. Recycling 1 to play another Sett. Oh, it's not enough. Unless maybe we have drawn 2 cards that turn. So we have drawn. I was gonna say we have drawn twice. So there is still good potential there. I think we're gonna tap 1 and move in with the Rookie. This will also trigger us to draw a card as well. And we've got a rune floating. So definitely good ordering here. Maximum resources, like I mentioned earlier. You really want to see everything you've got. We'll then play the Find Your Center. That's the room we were floating anyway. So we're still on 9. And what are we going to do here? We're just gonna. Is it just as simple as let's play the Yi and hope for the best? I mean, it gives you 14 against 10. Call to Glory only get... Oh, another call. We are really trying to cycle the deck here.
Willow is dragging this one out. Like, there was no shopper. There was no stopper. The show must go on. And even with Call to Glory all the way, like you said, that's only 13. Or not even 13, because you lose a buff, so it's 12 total. And just Master Yi and White Flame alone is 14.
What are we doing here?
I don't... Willow?
Okay, I guess he's... Well, this has to be Master Yi, doesn't it? Oh, Dead Bloom.
Oh, Dead Bloom.
Dead Bloom, yeah. And that is GG. He's done it. Well played, Willow. He made the mod, and he's fighting to bring it home as well.